Welcome to Proclaiming Justice, a podcast from PJTN that focuses the light of truth on vital issues in today's headlines that impact every American. I'm your host, Laurie Cardoza-Moore, founder and president of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, and I'm here to educate, motivate, and activate you to action. I want to arm you with the truth and the facts you'll need to fight and preserve our constitutional republic and uphold the Judeo-Christian values our nation was founded upon. Over 450 years before Auschwitz opened its crematorium, the Catholic Church devised its own solution to the Jewish problem. In 1478, King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella established the infamous Spanish Inquisition. For the first time in history, anti-Semitism had become a formal decree of the government. For centuries in Europe, being a Jew was dangerous. Now it was illegal and carried with it imprisonment, torture, and death. Today on Focus on Israel, you'll learn more about this horrific chapter in the history of Christianity. What has resulted from these forced and tortured conversions? Hello, I'm Laurie Cardoza-Moore, founder of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating and sharing the message of Christian biblical responsibility to the people and land of Israel in the face of an alarming rise in global anti-Semitism. Here in Israel, the memory of the Inquisition still haunts many Jews as we see the realities of a world bent on destroying the Jewish state and the Jewish people. Today, as during this dark period in history, Jews just wanted to protect their families and worship freely. During the Inquisition, the pressure toward conversion to Christianity was hard to ignore. Often, the public admission of conversion was not enough, as many came under suspicion of either continuing to adhere to their old religion or of having fallen back into it. In 1492, all Jews who had not converted were expelled from Spain. Those who converted became subject to the Inquisition. Jews who forcibly became Catholics but still practiced the Jewish faith were regarded as heretics, whose punishment included torture or burning at the stake. In time, the Spanish Inquisition extended to all Spanish colonies and territories, including North, Central, and South America. In Mexico City in 1571, the Palace of the Inquisition was established as the headquarters of the Inquisition in the colony of New Spain. The Portuguese Inquisition formally started in 1536. At its head stood a Grand Inquisitor, named by the Pope and selected by the Crown from within the royal family. The Portuguese Inquisition principally targeted the Sephardic Jews, whom the state forced to convert to Christianity. Spain had expelled its Sephardic population in 1492, and many of these Spanish Jews became targets in Portugal. The Portuguese inquisitors also targeted the Jewish New Christians called conversos or Marranos. The effects of the Inquisition have reverberated from its inception to today. In time, the term crypto-Jew was used to refer to the many conversos who continued to secretly and discreetly practice Jewish rituals. Over the centuries, many families lost all connection to their Jewish past or kept the secret buried and hidden from succeeding generations. Today, many of these hidden Jews are discovering their roots and family history. While in Israel, I had the opportunity to speak with Michael Freund about this new discovery. Michael recently served as Deputy Communications Director in the Israeli Prime Minister's office under Benjamin Netanyahu. He is the founder and chairman of Shavai Israel, Israel Returns, a Jerusalem-based organization that searches for and assists the lost tribes of Israel and other hidden Jews seeking to return to Zion.
I can say that about 15 years ago, when I first became involved in this line of work, it was my sense that most Israelis were familiar with the concept of Anusim or Marranos, but purely in a historical sense. In other words, they knew that Marranos existed, but they thought that nowadays they only existed in the history books on the dusty shelves in the library. What they didn't realize is that the phenomenon of the Anusim is a living and breathing phenomenon, and that it is still with us after so many centuries. And one of the things that we have been focusing on in the intervening years is to raise the public profile of the Anusim and to generate greater public awareness about the fact that there is an awakening taking place. There is an awakening that is happening literally across the globe, from Portugal to Peru, from Brazil to Barcelona. With each passing year, more and more of the descendants of the Anusim are emerging from the shadows of history, and they're looking to reconnect in one form or another with the Jewish people and with the state of Israel. And I believe that we have a historical responsibility, a moral responsibility, and even a religious responsibility to reach out to them. Through no fault of their own, their ancestors were torn away from us. They were kidnapped from us. And yet they never forgot where they came from. And if, after all this time, we have an opportunity to bring some of their descendants back, how can we possibly slam the door in their faces? How can we possibly not take action to bring them home? Recently, I co-wrote a book in Spanish called Tiene usted raíces judías? Do you have Jewish roots? And the aim of this book, which we're distributing for free as an ebook as well, is to encourage people throughout the Spanish and Portuguese-speaking worlds to begin to dig further into their roots, to ask questions of the older generation. Because one of the things we've noticed is that with the passage of time, many of the customs are still there, but in many cases people no longer make the connection between those customs and a possible Jewish identity. We've encountered people who have a grandmother who lights candles every Friday afternoon in the basement, but doesn't necessarily know why. Things of that sort. So we want to keep the consciousness alive, and the first step in doing so is to get people searching and asking questions. Because those customs are still very much out there. I met a professor of psychology in Portugal who told me that as a child growing up, his parents had always warned him, don't ever go out at night and count stars. He never understood why, until he later learned of his Jewish ancestry. We know that the Sabbath is considered over when 3 stars come out on Saturday night. And that is how the Anusim, down through the generations, would covertly check to see if the Sabbath had ended. In this man's family, in order to protect themselves from the prying eyes of the Inquisition, they had warned one generation after another, don't get caught counting stars at night. In other cases, such as in northern Brazil, there was a custom that the head of the household had a secret compartment at the head of the table where he sat, and they always kept a plate of pork in that secret compartment, so that if a Catholic neighbor or someone from the Inquisition stopped by to check up on them, they could open the drawer, take out that plate, and put it on the table so that no one would suspect that they might still be secret Judaizers. And until today, if you travel to northern Brazil and you go to various antique stores, you can still find these tables. And it is physical proof of the efforts that people made. to protect themselves and their families, but also to protect their Jewish identity too. How is it that people across the world from all sectors, socioeconomic backgrounds, are suddenly awakening to their Jewish ancestry and looking to reconnect? If we were talking about one particular location, we could perhaps identify various social factors, political and economic developments that might be driving that development. But when it's happening in so many different places at the same time, we have to ask ourselves why. And I think the answer is something mystical, something theological is at work here. It is as if God is reaching down into the world and touching people's hearts. He's setting off an internal alarm, which is calling people's souls to come home again. And more people are hearing that call. The Bible foresaw this. Our prophets predicted that this is what would happen. The prophet Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 20, speaks of the exiles of Jerusalem who are in Sfarad, who are in Iberia. They will once again repopulate the cities of the Negev, of Israel's south. That was a very bold prophecy to make, and very specific. We are beginning to witness the fulfillment of that verse as the Anusim, whose ancestors are the exiles of Jerusalem, who were taken to Sfarad, are now at last beginning to come back. And what's fascinating is, this is a relatively new phenomenon. This is something that has only taken off in the past 10 or 20 years. And I think there are a number of factors to explain why that is the case. First of all, as we know, Spain and Portugal only became democracies in the middle of the 1970s. Up until then, those countries were ruled by heavy-handed dictatorships, and the Catholic Church was a force to be reckoned with in those places. Since their transformation into liberal Western democracies, as their societies have opened up more, people have become more free to explore their heritage. They've become more open, and it's become possible to come out of the closet, so to speak, and declare one's Jewish ancestry. Every last one of the Anusim is going to return eventually to the Jewish people, because a person or a family or even a community can perhaps be lost in our eyes, but no one is ever lost in God's eyes.
I want to take you to Israel in pictures and film. I want you to see how God's sovereign hand can be seen before our eyes right here in this land. That's why PJTN is offering a special anniversary package that includes a captivating new book and award-winning DVD. Israel Rising is a unique visual story of Israel's miraculous journey from unforgiving desert to thriving nation. Thousands of years ago, the prophet Ezekiel foretold a future time in which the arid land of Israel would come alive for its people. Now this breathtaking book documents the fulfillment of this vision, as rarely seen photographs from the 1880s to the 1940s are juxtaposed with recent photos of the same locations. This book will inspire and captivate you as it illuminates Israel's foretold awakening in a new and unforgettable way. In addition, you'll receive the award-winning documentary, Israel Indivisible: The Case for the Ancient Homeland. This inspiring film examines the many political twists and turns that make Israel the world's most controversial nation. From Abraham and the Promise to the issues facing the Jewish state today, the film examines the historical, archaeological, legal, and biblical foundations for the modern state of Israel. This is a limited time offer for these two remarkable resources for just a one-time gift of $70 today. Your generous donation will help ensure that PJTN stays on the front lines and in the headlines of all the important issues facing Israel and our Jewish brethren. So please go to pjtn.org today. From studying history, it's very clear that what starts with the Jews never ends only with the Jews. We must strongly stand against any anti-Semitic trends, for if not stopped, they'll cause harm to all of us, and we'll witness the downfall of our Judeo-Christian Western culture. Today, many people say there's no longer a need for a Jewish state, that Jews around the world no longer need a place of refuge. But anyone who has heard recent statistics about the worldwide rise in anti-Semitism would never make such a claim. The reality is that neo-Nazi groups and Nazi sympathizers are increasing around the world. Surveys show that over 1 billion people in the world harbor anti-Semitic attitudes. Close to 50% believe that Jews have too much power in the business world, and 2/3 of the world's population has never heard of the Holocaust or believe the historic accounts of it are inaccurate. Don't let yourself be manipulated by evil people with a wicked agenda. When the self-serving villains are in control, good people from all religions suffer. Muslims, Christians, and all people of conscience should stand proudly and show respect for a country that gives so much to the world in so many ways. Do your part, do your research, and do what you can to make a difference. Because what happens in Israel does affect us all. This is not just a Jewish or just an Israeli problem. This is a problem for all humanity, for each and every one of us who believe in freedom and human rights. Learn more about what you can do at pjtn.org. In 2015, I was invited to the Sephardic Anusim conference in Netanya, Israel. The conference focused on research on the historical and contemporary development of the crypto-Jews of Iberian origin. The conference was aimed to educate the public about this phenomenon and its contemporary ramifications in Israel and around the world. During the conference, I was inspired by a compelling speech by Rabbi Chaim Dinosovitz as he called for the Sephardic Jews to return to their ancient homeland.
So let's take as a source, again, one of the prophets, Obadiah the prophet. At the end of his prophecy, he reveals some terrible things. And I'm sure today this might be new things to many of you. He talks about the end of the exile, which is our time, I think. He talks about those exiles coming back to Zion, to the land of Israel. And this is what he says in the verse, almost the last verse in the prophet Obadiah. And the diaspora of the Jews from the Canaanites all the way to Tzarfat, to France, and the diaspora or the exiles of Jerusalem in Spain, they will inherit the cities of the Negev. The prophet here mentions that all the Jews that were dispersed all over, that is our generation, are coming back home, or they will come back home, and he calls those Jews Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel, who were in exile until that place is called Tzarfat, which is France in Hebrew today. And then he says, Galut Yerushalayim, the exile of Jerusalem, who were in Spain, in Sfarad. So whoever learns this verse, even before looking at all the commentators and looking at Rashi and those other big commentators that explain what it means, what does this verse mean, whoever just reads this verse asks himself the question, why is he dividing the diaspora of Israel, the diaspora of Jerusalem? I mean, we're all Jews. Why is he talking about different exiles? They were all exiled. They were all dispersed in the four corners of the world. Why is he dividing between one exile and another? And he calls one the exile of Israel. The other one he calls the exile of Jerusalem. One of the greatest commentators on the Bible, Rashi. And not only Rashi, I can't bring all of you, but all the greatest commentators and the greatest scholars basically take the same line of thought, and they say as follows. The exile of Israel, who are those sons of Israel? We are talking about, by the way, a commentary. Now, Rashi said this commentary more than 1,000 years ago. That's Rashi. It's not somebody who lived in our times. You can actually see with his own eyes. It's all coming through. He lived in a medieval time, the Middle Ages, when Jews were not even allowed, couldn't even dream of ever coming back to the land of Israel. And this is what Rashi says. The sons of Israel are the exiles of the 10 tribes. And where did they exile to? They exiled to the area of France, Salfat, as it is called in the verse. We'll see what it is. And the exile of Jerusalem, who are those exiles of Jerusalem? They are from the tribe of Judah. That is the tribe of Judah, and they exiled to Sfarad, Spain. Rashi says, we'll see in a moment the end of that, but he says the sons of Israel, Israel the 10 tribes. As you well know, there were 12 tribes of Israel. The 10 tribes of Israel, and then there was the tribe of Judah, and then there were the Kohanim, the high holy priests, and the Levites. Rashi says, the prophet Obadiah, the divide between the exile of Israel and the exile of Jerusalem, means to say that the exile of Jerusalem is the tribe that is connected to Jerusalem. Which tribe is connected to Jerusalem? That is the kingly, that is the tribe of kings, that is Judah. And Judah was exiled all the way to Sfarad, while the 10 tribes, all the rest of the Jews, where did they exile to? Those are the 10 tribes who would refer to exile, were exiled to different areas, not to Sfarad, to a place that was called Salfat, France. Now look at the end. He says at the end, and those who try to find solutions, those sages, those scholars who understand the secrets of Torah, have conveyed to us, have transmitted to us and to their disciples from one generation to the next, that Salfat in the verse is the kingdom of France. And again, this is a commentary from 1,000 years ago. Salfat, just like today in Hebrew, in modern Hebrew, Salfat is France, Sfarad. And the translation of Yonatan ben Uziel, he translated to Aramaic. He lived at the beginning of the last exile. He lived 2,000 years ago. And Yonatan says, Sfarad is España. The country we call España. That is how he explains Sfarad. So according to the commentators, even the very ancient commentators living very long ago, who wrote this commentary more than 2,000 years ago, Yonatan ben Uziel, most of the tribes, by the way, again, were exiled to many, many places, but concentrated mainly in the areas of France, that Salfat of France. But the Sfaradis are from the tribe of Judah, and they were exiled to Spain, España. Now, we learn something amazing here, is that the Sephardi Jews, their source is the tribe of Judah. That is the tribe of the kings, the royal tribe. That means that the Sephardi, or the Spanish character, or the real essence of the Sephardi is kingdom, is royal, it's being a king. Yehuda, they're from Judah. And that's amazing. Now we understand why the Sephardi Jews were always connected to that internal part of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah, the Kabbalah aspect of the Torah. Because it's quite known that it is this part, I can't explain how and what and where, but it is known that this hidden part of the Torah was given, especially more so than any other tribe, it was given. This aspect of the Torah was actually handed down, especially to the tribe of Judah. Because according to that secret part of the Torah, the last redemption that we await depends on the revelation of these secrets. When that secret is revealed, an entire world understands that internal or that hidden light of the Torah, then the entire world will accept the God and will accept the kingdom of God. So the Sephardi Jews are actually connected to David. They are connected to that internal part of the Torah. And that is a wonder.
Well, that's our program for today, and I want you to know we appreciate your support. The time to take a stand is now. Be a leader in your community and in your church. One person can make a difference. Get involved with and support pro-Israel organizations such as PJTN. Call your senators, congressmen, let your elected leaders hear from you. Visit our website to learn more. Sign up to receive free action alerts and order our films to share with family and friends. Please encourage everyone you know to tune in and become informed. If you're interested in starting a local chapter of PJTN to combat anti-Semitism in your community, please contact us at info@pjtn.org. God bless you, and thank you for all you do on behalf of our Jewish brethren and all Israel. We'll see you next time on Focus on Israel.
To support this program, send your tax-deductible gift to Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, P.O. Box 682711, Franklin, Tennessee 37068. You can also support PJTN online. Visit pjtn.org or call 1-877-873-9020.
Anti-Semitism has reached epic proportions, and Israel is now surrounded by nations who seek its destruction. For Israel to lose just one battle would mean losing everything. As Christians, it is our biblical responsibility to stand with our Jewish brethren and Israel. PJTN needs your help to reach more Christians with this urgent message. Please visit our website to become a member today and order our award-winning documentaries. You must decide that you won't be silent. Sign up now at pjtn.org. God bless you, and thank you for your support and prayers. Thank you again for joining me on this edition of Proclaiming Justice. Please share this podcast with your family and friends. For more information about how you can get involved, please visit our website at pjtn.org. As a PJTN Watchman, you can help us keep up the fight to preserve our freedom for our children and their children for such a time as this.